Hey guys, it's Will from Tested.
And it's Norm from Tested.
Norman Chan, Windows 10 technical preview is out right now.
The newest technical preview. Is this a beta?
No.
Not a beta.
Intentionally not calling it a beta. But it seems different from previous pre-release versions of Windows in that this time, like with the Windows 8 beta, when they released it at CES and then it was out for 9 months or so and people worked on it through nothing changed. Like the UI didn't change. It seemed like stuff was finalized. This, they're saying, this is a work in progress. You're going to see substantial UI changes if you use this over the next 9 months, presumably 9 months.
I think a technical definition of a beta is that it's feature complete. And so this, they're calling it technical preview, meaning that Windows insiders, we're insiders, can provide feedback and they will actually make changes.
Which is a humble new approach for Microsoft when it comes to OSs.
Yes.
I think that the word beta has been completely devalued at this point in just general context to mean anything that is prior to release in most people's minds.
Alpha,
but yes,
pre-alpha,
yeah,
technical preview, stuff. Beta. But what we have right here is the technical preview version 9926. Now this is something you can download yourself and install on your PC, but I would not recommend that on any computer that you actually use as a daily computer.
There's a reason this is on a Surface and not one of our desktops at home or one of the Windows laptops we use. Yes. You'll probably be able to upgrade if you install this, maybe not. If you do run an upgrade from this to the final version of Windows 10, it's likely to be janky.
Yes.
So don't put this on anything you're not comfortable wiping and doing a complete reinstall from scratch. Don't put it on anything you don't have a Windows 8 or 7 or whatever OS you're using right now key for, because you'll have a hard time going back if you don't.
But if you do want to put this on your computer, you can do it two ways. You can just download an ISO and put on a USB key, or you can also upgrade in place, which is what I did for this computer. It had Windows 8.1 installed. You can do an in-place upgrade, and that will allow you to roll back as well.
There's a third way. If you just want to take it for test drive, you can download a virtual machine software like VirtualBox, download the ISO from Microsoft, install it using the Windows 8 settings, and you'll be able to see, let's say 90% of what you're going to see with a full install bare to the metal. And then when you're ready to get rid of that, all you have to do is delete the files and you're back in business.
Windows within Windows sandboxing. But today we're going to go over all the features in the current technical preview of Windows 10. We'll recap some of the things from the last technical preview, but also show us some of the new things. So let's start off with the Start menu. We showed this last time, so switch over. So this is Windows 10.
That's the desktop.
That's the desktop.
We can't see the tray, but I assume that you guys can.
And on the bottom of the tray, you can actually see on the bottom corner, it's the Windows button. You hit that and you get a Start menu. It's a lovely looking Start menu.
So this is something that they talked about when they announced Windows 10 at Build last year. They have this whole thing that they call Continuum, which means that Windows basically changes based on the context in which you're using it. If you're using it on a tablet, it may behave differently than if you're using it on a desktop computer with a monitor and a keyboard and mouse, and it may work differently if you're on a laptop. So what we're seeing is the Start menu. Right now you're using the Surface with the keyboard and the touchpad, and then an actual physical mouse attached.
So things that have changed right now between Windows 8.1 and 10 is that the Start menu, at least when you have a keyboard attached and are in the desktop mode, it does not fill the screen. It's not the Start screen. That's not to say Microsoft has abandoned the idea of the Start screen, because you see these modern style app shortcuts on the right here.
And they're still active and live, just like they are. You know, your social people hub is updating with social people stuff. Your news app is updating. Your weather app is updating. All that stuff is still works the same as it did at the Start screen. It's just that now, instead of being on a completely different modal dialogue where you can't see the other stuff you're working on, you can have a window open, go find the thing you want to launch, and then you don't lose your place where you're working.
So for example, if I launch let's see, something I don't already have launched. I'll launch weather. It'll actually run in a window here, which I can if I want. I can make this. Yes, I'll allow you. I can make it a full screen, and now it's taken up my full screen.
I don't like that.
You like it? Okay, I'll shrink it down.
Whoa, thank goodness. What did you do? You pressed buttons and that happened.
And then Windows down, turn that into a window. Now that Start menu, you can actually make it a Start screen again, and that is this button. I'm gonna hover over it with the mouse. Right here.
It's also worth mentioning that the apps, so you're doing some weird scaling here. This looked right on my account on this machine, and it's all weird and stretched out on your account on this machine. But the apps aren't locked to certain resolutions or widths anymore. So when you had that modern app on the desktop, which I thought was looked okay. Go ahead and open that weather app back up again, if you would.
There it goes.
Okay, so you can grab the bar on the right-hand side and stretch it to make it smaller, bigger, whatever you want. This may have happened in Windows 8.1. I'll be perfectly frank, I don't use that many modern apps on a day-to-day basis, but this is kind of how it should have behaved. The performance still seems kind of chunky, but I mean, it is an early release, and I would kind of expect performance
and there are, again, two full-screen modes. This full screen mode is your standard, what you think of as a traditional full screen mode. You see the border, and I can minimize, or you can actually have it take up the full screen with no Chrome around it.
Okay. So that's the tablet mode. But
Yes.
when you have the start menu, when it thinks there's a keyboard and touchpad attached, trackpad attached, it seems like the modern apps launch in Windows by default.
Yes, by default.
Which is good.
So what I'm going to do now, if we switch over back to us, is I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to take off the keyboard here on the Surface Pro. So by removing the keyboard, 1, 2, 3, bam.
Okay, now go back.
Now we'll go back to Windows.
Made some noises.
And you see in the bottom right-hand corner, do you want to switch to tablet mode? I'm going to click yes. And I think that should have toggled it.
When you press the start button.
And I can hit the start button. Oh, no, we're actually still technically in, not in tablet mode. I will manually do it. Now we're in tablet mode.
Oh,
you can manually switch. So hitting the start button actually takes you to this the full start screen again. This is tablet mode. Everything, nothing runs in Windows. You can still access your desktop if you want to. Without a keyboard, it's a little difficult. Whereas my desktop,
there's no desktop shortcut on your menus.
Oh no.
But you can pull down the All Apps view. So this is the other thing that changed, is instead of having the All Apps be, this is something they explicitly said is probably going to change. They're still working on both the start screen and the start menu design. But instead of having a separate window below the main start screen, now your list of all apps is just a column on the left side, so you can scroll through it very quickly, which seems good. I don't know that there is a desktop shortcut anymore.
No
Try
desktop.
Win. Oh, you can't do Win plus T because there's no keyboard.
I just pulled up the keyboard.
What if you swipe in from the left side of the screen to show the task switching dialog?
Aha. Well, nope, not on.
It's not working?
No. I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the keyboard back.
Put the keyboard back on.
Put the keyboard back on.
For the love of God,
let's play it
man.
safe. Keyboard's back on. Now it says you want to exit tablet mode?
Yes.
Hell yes. I want to exit tablet mode.
I want to never see that again, and I'm sure that you'll be able to turn that setting off. Most people, I think, are probably never going to see that because most people are going to use a computer that has a keyboard and mouse attached to it all the time.
I'm using shortcuts here. Now, the second big change is the notification center.
The Action Center, you mean, Norm?
Yes. The Action Center now, there's a shortcut on the bottom right, I'm going to hit that, and this is what pops up. This replaces charms.
When you swipe in from the right, that also it also brings this up.
It's actually not working on this.
Maybe.
Oh, it's because we have the second monitor.
Oh,
attached.
okay.
That's why
the touch gestures aren't working.
Okay. You know what? I can do it. Nope,
Okay.
I can't even do it on the trackpad.
Press the icon in the lower. Trust us.
Yep.
We tested this before. You swiped in from the right, swiped in from the left. It just worked right.
So swiping in from the right now, previously in Windows 8 was this Charms menu, which let you connect to devices. It was like a secondary settings menu.
The share stuff was there. It was largely useless though.
Yes.
Nothing really used it, especially if you weren't using modern apps.
And that's now replaced with notifications, which will get tied into other applications. I don't have it tied into too many things now. It shows you your recent searches, your things that have popped up in Explorer.
If you have applications, for example, Mail doesn't work right now. If you had Mail notifications set up, they would show up here. What's unclear to me is if this is only modern app notifications or if this is all of the pop-up notifications that show up above the lower right-hand corner of the tray for everything. And I think it is.
It is all. So anytime previously in Windows 7 or 8 desktop where you would see the bubble, it's now a list. You can also access the, as I've expanded, the settings here. So you have your display settings. You can't actually change volume or brightness.
From
display
there?
settings, no, you can't. It opens up a separate settings window currently.
So those, if you go to notifications and actions in the settings window.
I'm jumping ahead of myself.
Wow.
Yes.
Go back to notifications and settings. Go back to the settings window.
Okay.
Those top four doobers there, those top four shortcuts are configurable. So you can choose, or they may not actually be configurable, but it seems like you can. So see where it says choose your quick actions, and you can pick from one of like 12 things. So that can be the things that you use most commonly. Like on my desktop PC, I expect to have a completely different set of things there than I do on my laptop or a Surface tablet or something like that. I think that that's good, and a lot of OSs, iOS and OS 10 included, don't let you configure that stuff.
That's cool.
These are all the notifications for apps that you've installed, I assume, on your Windows 8 machines. This doesn't look like it's going to be for it doesn't look like you're going to have granular control for non-modern apps.
Yes.
But I don't know.
As you can see on the bottom now, I have airplane mode as one of my 4.
Right. And you can always pop up and get the other ones.
Yep.
The other thing, let's show AltTab.
Okay, so previously, there is a traditional AltTab. I'm going to show you that right now. This is your standard AltTab menu that you'd see with Windows.
That looks real ugly, but okay.
And then in Windows 8, when you swipe from the left of the screen, which I can't do again because I have multiple monitors, you would normally see this column list of all your windows.
I bet you can get to it by pressing Win and Tab.
Exactly, but Win and Tab now looks different. Win and Tab now shows the windows displayed like so.
It's much more like Expose, or I can't remember what they call it on Post Lion OS 10. But it's the Control Command Center, or whatever that thing is. And
more importantly, it shows multiple desktops.
So this is, what you're seeing on the top is the windows that are open on the desktop that you have currently open. When you go to the bottom there, you can use the mouse or touch or whatever, then you can switch between the actual desktops. The question I have is there a way to see all of the windows that are open on all of the desktops? And it seems like that's probably not possible right now. Oh, that's AltTab. Okay. And that'll automatically jump you to the right desktop that you need to be on. This is very exciting. This is the way I want multiple desktops to work on an OS.
Yes.
At least on paper.
And I use multiple desktops all the time on my laptop, on my Mac laptop. Yeah. And the shortcut I use most, the keyboard shortcut, is the switch between multiple desktops. I think in my mind, from a spatial sense, the desktops are one long desktop that I'm fitting in the frame of my window. And you can press Control, Window, and left and right, and that will let you slide between your desktops, which is good. This linear design of all your multiple desktops. What you cannot do is the equivalent of a Mac is press Mac up or Windows up to show your desktop. You have to do Windows Tab. So instead of
so it's just
it's a different shortcut. But the thing I don't like, for example, is if I wanted to move this Paint window, which is in my desktop 1, if I wanted to move that to desktop 3, there's no way to do that. Right, you
can't press like Control click and drag it.
No, I can't.
Can you do it from the? Can you click now? What happens if you press? What happens if you're selecting that and you press
Windows 3?
Windows 3.
That just takes me to the third.
See, that sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is one of those things that I would expect them to like. They're figuring out how a lot of this stuff works. A lot of this stuff is jankier than I have come to expect from previous Windows betas. And this is, just to be clear, this is huge UI changes. The fact that they're actually going back and doing the thing we all asked them to do, to integrate the start screen that nobody really liked with the way people actually use computers, is really exciting. I expect them to be working on rough edges up until almost the last minute.
Now, a new feature in this version of Windows 10 is Cortana.
Hey, Cortana.
Hey, Cortana.
That's me.
That's me, she says. It replaces search in Windows 10, which I think is a step up from the search in Windows 8.1, but I think it's maybe not the best search that people are going to want if they're familiar with search in Windows 7.
What you're talking about is the command line launching, where you can type the name of the application you want to launch.
So, for example, typically you just press the Windows key, hit your start menu, and then you type in. I will type in
Internet Explorer.
Okay, Internet Explorer.
It's a little slow right now.
And Internet Explorer pops up, but then you also get your related searches, your app searches, and web searches. That's all built in, and I don't know if people actually want that. I'll show you some of the settings you can get.
That was in Windows 8.1 as well, for what it's worth.
And it doesn't take you to a whole new screen, which I like. Cortana can give you suggestions. You can actually turn that off. And you can have Cortana call you by name. I think I do have Cortana set to my actual name. And then you can also manually turn on the voice activation, which isn't on by default.
Hey, Cortana, what's my name?
Norman.
Sorry, it's key to me.
It's fine.
It's not actually voice recognized to different people, to one person. Hey, Cortana, what's the weather like in New York?
Right now, it's 33 and clear in New York.
Hey, Cortana, what's the weather in Lake Titicaca right now?
You can see on the bottom, it does what the Google,
Right
like
now,
Google.
it's 65 and sunny.
Oh,
Okay.
That's,
It doesn't confirm that it got the location
No.
right, though, which is a little weird.
ask it a tougher question, though.
Hey, Cortana, how far is the moon from New York City?
You might get a web result. You do get a web
I got
result.
a web result.
There you go.
So, I mean, it's like all of these things, the voice search gets better and more effective the more people use it. I think putting it in Windows is a really good way to get people to actually use Cortana because, you know, they'll have more people using Windows 10 in 2 hours after it's released than they have using Windows Phone 8 right now. Or Windows Mobile, whatever they're calling it now.
And you can tell it's trying to be like Google now. You can have it if you use mail, go through your mail for package notifications, you get news,
calendars, all that stuff.
Yep, you know, local weather. It's trying to be your own one stop for the glanceable data.
So there's also it's also interesting, I think, that there's a built-in search box on the taskbar,
Which you can remove if you want.
of course. That's always been an option. You could always add that, but having it start, like they're shipping it as the default right now, which I think is interesting. It seems like there's not a search, it seems like that search box is what is being typed into when you press the Windows key and start typing something now, though.
Yes. Which is why it's on the bottom left as opposed to the bottom right.
Right. The voice activation stuff seems to work pretty well. The voice, like the usability of it right now is pretty hard to evaluate because it's the things like the mail app don't work right. The calendar app are pretty rough.
Yeah, so other things, you have to actually turn this on with the registry key, but you can show this is the styling on the bottom right of the new calendar app.
I like that. It's nice and readable.
Yeah, it has the current time. There's no more analog clock as of right now. And that stays with you can see. New apps, you can show there's new calculator app. These are all the modern style apps. New alarms. Look at those icons.
They've changed File Explorer. Those are some real fuggo icons, man.
Look at those icons.
Those look like icons. Well, I hope that those are placeholder icons for Microsoft's sake. So those are profoundly unattractive. You said you noticed some stuff change in File Explorer, and I'm just not seeing it.
They've collapsed a bunch of this stuff, rearranged it. You get here.
But it still is using the ribbon metaphor from
Office.
Office.
Yep. Basic information. And then, of course, your minimize, and this whole top right is redesigned for Windows 10.
Hit the open settings button for a sec, because this is one of the other things that they're working on. It's clearly not all the way done yet, but they're working on integrating the control panel, which still exists in this version of Windows, and the PC settings modern app, so that all of your settings for all of the stuff that you need are in one place instead of randomly distributed between two different places.
It's not done the best right now. I'll give you a clear example. Display resolution, for example. I can typically go, display, and this will open up a modern, actually not a modern style.
This is the old control panel,
style,
yeah.
Right, for adjusting resolution. But if I type in resolution, I don't know why it's not recognizing. Then it's actually the modern one.
Yeah, and that stuff, like, my hunch is that for the foreseeable future, they'll leave the control panel as they're moving things one at a time over into the modern app. I think I like the icon design here a lot. I think that this is really clean and really good. When you do type ahead search in this find a setting, if you type, what was it, the first thing you typed? Not resolution.
Display.
Display. Type display and see what happens. So you get the right thing there. Click through to the first one.
So this is one of those things where I wish there's so much empty space wasted here. I wish as I scrolled it, it showed me.
Well, this is clearly placeholder, right? Look, they all have the same icon.
Yep.
So, and it takes you to the right place. This is what I would expect to eventually work. This seems like a good solution for this problem, assuming they pull all of the settings over and they're all accessible.
Here's a new feature also that is in technical preview, Storage Sense, a good place to jump to that. We have a micro SD card plugged in here. You can also plug in a USB hard drive, and it will now allow you to choose where you install certain of your local files.
So if you look at this, I thought this was interesting because if you have a desktop PC with an SSD and a couple hard drives in it or something like that, because you bought a cheap SSD, but you need a place to store games and videos and all that stuff, this will let you say, hey, put put videos and new pictures on OneDrive while I leave everything else on the fast SSD. I think like this is a problem that they literally should have addressed about 5 years ago with Windows 7. Better late than never. I'm excited about this, assuming it works and that people actually use APIs and it's not just for modern apps. It works with everything.
Yep. Of course, right now this is grayed out because it's not a Windows formatted SD card. The store is in beta. Its design is slightly changed.
I think that looks a lot better than the current store. It uses the space better.
Yep. And then also there's Xbox. So you have my Xbox Live, my friends list, achievements, stuff like that. What's not in this right now is the streaming option.
The game streaming, so you can play your Xbox games on your PC?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's going to come in the future and part of the technical preview. And then maps also a new thing. You can actually store offline maps right now as well.
I mean, that's less useful for my desktop and more for a tablet or phone or something like that. Other stuff that's not in here, Project Spartan, which is their new ground-up redesign of the browser, isn't in this yet. And the Mail app, I think I mentioned earlier, just doesn't work.
Yep. Project Spartan, you can actually turn on the Project Spartan rendering engine inside Internet
really?
Explorer. But I've turned that off because people have reported that's pretty buggy right now.
I mean, new browsers is a complex problem.
And that's something to expect with the technical preview, is that it's going to be buggy. Nothing is finalized right now. It's cool if you want to get a sense of how the start menu is going to look and how you're going to use Windows multiple desktops. But I expect this to be much better, come later this year.
I mean, you'll see a profound improvement between even now and say March, a month from now, and then as you get closer and closer, eventually it'll be just something that is very close to the final product. There are a bunch of new apps. We haven't really gone through them, but you want to run through a couple and show people what
I
they
did.
look like?
The only one it shows is Photos, and that one actually I don't think will load. Let's see. Let's try Photos. Crossing fingers.
Oh, wait.
Let's see. It's going to stay open for more than 10. Oh,
no,
there it goes.
crashes. Okay.
Crashes. There you go.
The calculator, like just to show people kind of what the new design stuff looks like.
There you go.
I like these chromeless modern windows. I think they look really nice. I kind of like them better than the ones like the alarm window that has a top bar.
No, it does have a top bar. You just can't see.
Oh, it does. Okay, it was off the top of the page. I don't know. I mean, it's really flat. I think this is nice looking. I think even if some of this is placeholder art, it's a good place to start. The maps window looks good. The redraw stuff that we're seeing on this, I assume, is an aspect of running Windows 8 graphics drivers on Windows 10.
Yep.
The display model probably won't change too much, I would think, but it is generally enough of a difference to cause weird things to happen. We talked about new settings.
This is why touchscreen on laptops are so useful.
Oh. Enhance, Norm. Upper left quadrant, enhance. Lower right quadrant, enhance. Oh my God. I'm gonna go look out the skylight. Can you see me? Dun, 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 dun. Hey, there we are. Wow, it even has this in the right place in the building. That's crazy. Like I think you and I have both used this for probably 20 or 30 minutes at this point. What was the install process like?
Install is super simple. It actually, if you do an in-place install, it works as a Windows update. So it's just about a 3 gig file that gets updated, and then if you do that, will get the new technical previews that way as well.
Okay. And if you do an ISO, then you download it, burn it to a USB key just like normal, and then boot off of that to do the install.
So that's it. It's the new technical preview, version 9926, I believe. Has, I would say, maybe 75% of the big differences in Windows 10.
Just looking at this right now, this is something that you should probably not install. Even if you're going to just put on your gaming PC that you use to noodle around with at home, it's pretty raw dog. And when you start putting things like games and stuff like that uses game APIs and all that, you're going to have weird things happen. It's not going to be good for you. So give it a few months. They're going to keep running the Insider program seems like from now until launch. Or at least right up until launch. So you'll have time to download it and play with it later if you want. Were there opportunities to multi-boot? Did it let you do? Did it say, "Hey, we can do a clean install"?
We can do. It will do a rollback.
Okay, so you can theoretically roll back to Windows 8 at this point if you
want.
Okay.
And Windows 10 will be free for anyone who has Windows 8 or Windows 7 installed already. So
for the first year for Windows 7 users.
For the first year.
Yeah.
So we expect this to be out by end of this year.
I would be shocked if it is not.
Yeah.
I think this is a promising. Like, how do you feel about it? Just looking at what they've changed so far. Norm?
It's good. I think for Windows 8.1 users, everything is really welcome. Some things for mobile that I'd like them to tweak: Wi-Fi settings, brightness stuff, volume controls. And for Windows 7 users, it's going to be less of a jump, less of a user experience shock than Windows 8 was.
If they had taken this approach with Windows 8, I think the backlash against Windows 8 wouldn't have happened, because you did have good performance benefits and stuff like that in Windows 8. So it was unfortunate that you were saddled to a terrible UI. So that's it. This is Windows 10 Technical Preview. It's the second time we've looked at this. I bet we'll look at it at least once more before it's fully available. For Tested, I'm Will.
I'm Norm.
See you guys later.
That's Cortana. Hey, Cortana. Nope.
Bye, Cortana.